Here to provide a GOP perspective on both MNsure and on the achievement gap, we have Senator Nienow. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
Senator, let's begin with the achievement gap issue and your thoughts on this latest report that was released by the Department of Education. It shows that Minnesota is actually on track to close the achievement gap by 50% by the year 2017. What did you think of that report?
Well, that's a good thing if indeed we're measuring properly. And we achieve those goals. I do have some longer term concerns because for those that paid attention to last year's legislative session, we essentially eliminated graduation standards for our students. And interestingly enough, once we implemented those reading, writing, and arithmetic grad standards, the achievement gap started to close significantly. And now we've eliminated them. My contention is when you have high expectations, students will try to meet them. When you eliminate those expectations, what are they trying to meet? And so I have some concerns longer term that we might not be on track once these grad standards go away in the next couple of years.
Some of the issues that some feel have something to do with this achievement gap, particularly in the St. Paul and Minneapolis school districts, school lunch program, maybe not having enough ensuring that all students are fed, because studies show that students do perform better in school when they're not hungry. The governor is offering an additional $3.5 million in his supplemental budget for the free and reduced lunch program. Do you think this is the right direction?
Well, there's absolutely a connection between educational achievement and poverty. There's no question about that. But we already have the free and reduced lunch program for the students that are living in poverty. There might be some tweaking around the edges that makes sense with what the governor was proposing yesterday. This was a piece of legislation from Senator Hayden from last year, and we had some discussion on that. My concerns are completely eliminating any expectation of responsibility for families that really can't afford to participate a little bit in the program. If they really can't afford it, that's what the free lunch program is for. The reduced lunch program is for families that have some financial capability. I understand if you got a 5-year-old child and mom or dad forgot to put 10 bucks on the account, you don't want to turn away that child and make them go hungry. But a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old child that's in high school, maybe a senior, we give them the responsibility of driving a 4,000-pound vehicle at 70 miles an hour down the freeway, putting your life and mine potentially in jeopardy, and we think they're responsible enough for that. I think when you look at those ends of the spectrum, they should be responsible enough to be able to make their own lunch too.
Okay, Senator, when we spoke with Senator Uyghur, he said that the emphasis, in his opinion, going into this next session to try to close this achievement gap even more is on early childhood education. Would you support additional funding?
Early childhood education isn't a bad thing, but however, we are making progress. You'll hear a number that gets bandied about that only half of students entering kindergarten are ready, prepared. Actually, the number is higher than that. We're making progress. I think it was the Star Tribune had a report on this a while back, and it was about 3/4 of the students. And so we're making some progress there. The entry level of those kids coming into school isn't necessarily as difficult of a challenge as what some of the numbers are that are being thrown out there. We did put a lot of money into this last year. So the question in the last budget, so the question is, maybe we should wait and see if we're going to get some results out of that before we start piling on more money. So at this point, I would be hesitant to say that's necessarily a solution because we've already started down that track and we haven't seen the results yet of this budget.
Okay, Senator, let's transition over to MNsure. The GOP continues to blast the exchange. The latest hearing indicates that many of the concerns are being corrected. What are your key concerns with MNsure and this exchange as they move forward?
Well, I wouldn't say they're being corrected, but they're getting Band-Aids. The report that came out that the governor was wise enough to bring a company in and do a top-to-bottom report said it could be 2 years before we really have a functional system. I've talked to the executive director, the CEO, Scott Leitz. They've put out an RFP to get a new contractor to kind of take over and look at this and give us some recommendations on what track we take to get this fixed. Right now, it's kind of duct tape and Band-Aids, a lot of manual processing. The basic structure of what's there is just deeply flawed. I'll give you one example that Scott Leitz gave us yesterday when I had it wasn't private, but it was a small meeting, it wasn't a committee meeting. If you sign up through MNsure and get your insurance, etc., and then you have a life event, you get married or divorced or you have a child, the system literally cannot deal with that. The system can't deal with that. It's an entirely manual processing process at that point. That's how deep some of the flaws are in this system that has been built. So we have a long way to go before we get to a functional system, a couple of years.
So I want to ask your opinion, understanding that this is a system that was built from the ground up and there were expectations of things not going properly. Has this exceeded your expectation of things gone wrong, or is this in the realm of maybe what was acceptable given where they had from a starting point?
I would say it even exceeded my low expectations. We were on the track towards abject failure. And there are some states that hit that. There is one state that has 0 people signed up through their exchange. I mean, we were on track to head that way. We were able to get in and with some duct tape and Band-Aid get things workable, but we are nowhere near our goals, nowhere near our goals. We are at about 1/3 of what we want to have for enrollment by April 1st. And of those that have enrolled, sorry, take that back. It may not be as low as 1/3, but we are significantly below what we need to have by April 1st. Of those that have signed up, only 1/3 of them are in private plans. 2/3 of them are in public plans. And if someone's coming into a public plan, that has costs for the state. Now, it's good for the family. But that has budgetary implications. And you're also seeing that filter down into the MNsure budget. MNsure is millions of dollars below projections to be able to be self-funding. And in the committee hearing that we had today, they have no idea how they're going to make that up. They literally have no idea.
And I don't believe we're done with this topic, but we are out of time, so I'm sure we'll have you back during session as this comes up again. Thanks, Senator.
Thank you.